Appreciate your patience. We're running a little bit behind for our public hearing and land use meeting for Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. If you'll all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Attorney Garcia, do we have certification of the agenda today?
You do, sir. The County Attorney's Office has reviewed all items on the agenda. You have appropriate jurisdiction over these matters. In addition, appropriate notice has been made where necessary.
Great. And do any commissioners have disclosures for items on this agenda today?
No, sir.
And I have none either. With that, we'll get right into it with our first item under 2 land use meeting agenda items, which is item 2A, resolutions concerning the creation and organization and election question for the Douglas County Local Improvement District, LID, Country Club Drive, Group 10, LID, Douglas County Project Number CI 2025-015. Amy Strathopoulos with the Department of Public Works and Engineering presenting for staff. That is not Amy, that is Dan. Hi, Dan.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Just covering this one for Amy. This is an administrative item. So we are requesting that this meeting be rescheduled to August 26th meeting or the next available land use meeting. From a statutory requirement, this notice of the hearing was published on July 17th, and we have to have a 30-day advance notice before the meeting. So originally it was planned to be published on the 12th, didn't get published till 17th. As such, we need to move the date of this hearing until at least 30 days after that, which would be after August 17th. So we're just requesting the meeting be rescheduled to August 26th or later.
Okay, Dan, thank you. Any questions from the board or a motion?
I have no questions. If it pleases the board, I do have a motion to reschedule a resolution concerning the creation and organization and election question for the Douglas County Local Improvement District, Country Club Drive, Group 10, LID, Douglas County project number is CI 2025-015 to August 26th, 2025 at 2:30 p.m. Before we take a second on that, is there a need to correct that? We did have a discussion earlier about not meeting for a business meeting or a land use meeting on the 26th. Counselor, do we need to have a different date?
There's probably 2 issues with that. We do need to have the appropriate publication too, so we may just have to set it for a later date. So it may not necessarily be the 26th so that we can meet the 30 days. We may have a later date than that, and we'll republish and start the process again. Okay,
so thank you, Counselor. In that case, to amend my motion to CI 2025-015 to a later date.
Second. Great, so we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Dan. So moving on to our next item, which is item 2B, John Adams Academy Exemption, Project File EX 2025-005. Eric Pavlinek, Principal Planner, presenting for staff. Hi, Eric.
Pavlinek, representing Planning Services. Before you is the John Adams Academy Exemption. Project number is EX 2025-005. Kevin Jonk with Stern Ranch Development Company is here as the applicant representative. The request is for approval of an exemption from the Douglas County subdivision resolution to establish a 26-acre lot for development of a public charter school. The intent of the exemption process is establish a review process for divisions of land that the board determines are outside of the purpose of subdivision. The exemption process includes a submittal of an application followed by a limited referral agency review period. Public Works Engineering noted that the need for dedication of right-of-way for Middle Fork Street in the future. Stern Ranch has included this requirement in a deed to the charter school. Right-of-way will be dedicated to the county upon request, as may be needed to support a future school expansion or other development proposals within Sterling Ranch within the area. The site indicated by the red star is in the northwest part of the county within Sterling Ranch. The property is within the Chatfield urban area as identified by the 2040 comprehensive master plan. The site is zoned PD. The school site is located approximately southwest of the intersection of Waterton Road and Snake River Street. The location of the exemption area is noted in the kind of blue hatched area. This is an aerial view of the property. The Planning Commission approved the L&E application for the John Adams Academy Charter School on June 2nd of this year. Services and impacts were evaluated as part of that process. As a follow-up to the L&E approval, the charter school is working through final approvals of its traffic management plan and other construction plans with engineering. The exemption will create the legal lot to allow its transfer to the charter school. This is the exemption exhibit of the 26-acre parcel. The next few slides are site photos showing at the intersection of Waterton Road and Middle Fork Street. This is a view looking east, a view looking northeast, and finally, kind of looking northwest. Staff has evaluated the exemption request in accordance with Article 9 of the subdivision resolution. Should the board find that the criteria for the exemption are met, the following proposed conditions should be considered for inclusion in the motion. Condition number 1, priority recordation of the exemption exhibit. Technical corrections to the exhibit shall be made to the satisfaction of Douglas County, and all commitments and promises made by the applicant or applicant's representative during the public meeting and agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon the Board of County Commissioners in approving the application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of such commitments and promises. There are no formal approval standards for exemption requests. Rather, the subdivision resolution sets forth the exemption eligibility criteria. In this case, Section 903.04 authorizes the board to approve subdivision exemptions when divisions of land create parcels for public or quasi-public uses. As noted on the slide, the John Adams Academy exemption will establish the parcel for a public charter school. A note on the exemption exhibit limits the exempt lot to this specific purpose. Section 904.04 of the subdivision resolution sets forth the parameters for the board's action on exemption requests, which is noted on the slide. And this concludes my presentation. I'm here for questions if there are any. Otherwise, Kevin Jonk has a presentation for you.
Great, Eric. Thank you for that. Any questions for staff?
No questions for staff.
Actually, I do have one question. At the Planning Commission, June 2nd, what was the vote held by the Planning Commission?
Eric Pavlik for staff, I believe is a unanimous vote recommended or for approval. I was not actually present at that hearing.
Let me look back. There might have been one dissenting vote, but let me look back. I think it was unanimously approved, though. I'll check.
That's what I recall. I do want to make sure.
Okay.
Okay, any additional questions? All right, with that, we will invite the applicant to join us at the podium for a presentation.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Kevin Jonk, J-O-H-N-K, Director of Entitlements and Engineering for Sterling Ranch Development Company, 8155 Piney River Avenue, Suite 200, Sterling Ranch, Colorado, 80125. Thank you, Chairman Layden, Commissioner Teal, Commissioner Van Winkle, for your time this afternoon and for your consideration of the exemption plat document for the John Adams Academy Charter School. I want to also thank Douglas County Planning staff and Public Works Engineering for their participation and hard work on this project. Eric's presentation covered things very well, so I just want to take the opportunity to highlight a few things. By now, you are used to seeing the slide of our community facts and statistics. I just want to point out that we are proud to say once again in 2025 that we are the best-selling master plan in Colorado, and in fact, the only master plan in Colorado that ranks nationally. This next slide highlights the school's specific location within our master plan. You'll see it on the screen in red. It's following the development of Preliminary Plan 6 and its associated final plats, which you will see in blue. Because all of these plats came in 2021 and 2022, that means that all the surrounding infrastructure has been installed and the site is ready for a school. Like you may have seen on the prior slide, with over 8,000 residents, Sterling Ranch is very excited to have its first school. I want to make it clear that this application pertains to the plat document only, based on Section 900 of the Douglas County Subdivision Resolution. Given that this is a public charter school, it does indeed fulfill the definition for an exemption plat. All the other plans and documents related to the physical improvements to the roadways, utilities, grading, building layout, et cetera, has been covered in a location and an extent application that was approved unanimously with the Planning Commission on June 2nd. So this property division really just follows all the groundwork that the location and extent process has established. So in accordance with Section 900 of the subdivision resolution, staff's positive report on this application and the positive results of the L&E, we would please ask for your vote and for your approval on this exemption plat to help deliver Sterling Ranch's first school. This concludes our presentation. These couple of photos show that we are already out there preparing the site, smoothing out the grades, and applying construction water to that dirt to keep our construction dust to a minimum. With that, we're available to answer any questions.
Great. Kevin, thank you for that presentation. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, I don't think I have any questions either. Very familiar with this project. You made a great presentation. Certainly from a county standpoint and a commissioner standpoint, eagerly anticipating the opportunity for there to be a greater education source for people in that community, certainly to have a school in that area. So I think it's something we've been looking at and hoping for some time. With that, I'm going to open it up for any citizen comment. Any citizen comment in the room with regard to this item? Okay, not seeing any in the room. Is there any citizen comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, thank you, Troy. So with that, I'm going to close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion. And actually, before I do that, and I'm sorry, Kevin, I had you step away, if you could just answer for the record, are you okay with all the conditions as presented?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great.
What were the, could you just put up the conditions real quick?
And the Planning Commission's vote was unanimous, 5-0.
Terrific. They do good work.
Just the two conditions.
Two, just those two. Okay. I thought I wasn't sure if there's a second page. Okay, thank you. Well, Mr. Chairman, this is an exciting day for the Douglas County, future Douglas County, for our fastest growing development, I believe, in Douglas County, to have a school go there. I know it was thoroughly examined by the Planning Commission, approved unanimously, and honored to have it before us today. And so, Mr. Chairman, I make the motion, I move to approve John Adams Academy exemption because it does meet all the approved criteria with two conditions as presented, and this is project file EX 2025-005.
Yeah, both of my kids were charter school educated. I think that's worked out for them. I'm always committed to choice in education. I personally feel like choice in education is a human right, and therefore it is my pleasure to second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? I also agree. Choices are right, and this county has had a very long history of having those sorts of options for parents that come to our community. Certainly no surprise that Sterling Ranch is the #1 best-selling master plan community in the state of Colorado. I think it says a lot about Sterling Ranch and a lot about Douglas County, and I know that many people in this room work very hard to ensure that continues to be the case. So very pleased to approve this. I will be in support of the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries unanimously. With that, we're going to move on to the next item under land use, which is item 2C, the Allen exemption project file EX 2025-004. Trevor Bedford from staff presenting. Hi, Trevor.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Trevor Bedford, representing Planning Services. This project number is EX 2025-004. The property owner is the Mark W. Allen Trust. The request is for an exemption to create a legal parcel on 7.02 acres of land. The intent of Article 9 of the subdivision resolution is to establish criteria and a review process whereby the Board of County Commissioners may grant exemptions from the definition of the term subdivision and subdivided land. The exemption process includes submittal of an application followed by an agency referral agency review period. No significant referral comments were received. The site is identified by the red star and is located in the western portion of the county within the Pike National Forest and Foothills subarea as designated in the 2040 Douglas County Comprehensive Master Plan. The property is located on the east side of South County Highway 67, south of Pine Hill subdivision. The property is zoned Agricultural 1 and surrounded by other Agricultural 1 properties. A 2-lot exemption for the property directly to the east was approved in 2012, resulting in an 8.64 acre and a 2-acre parcel. Several of the other parcels nearby are between 5 and 10 acres as well. This is an aerial map that shows the site. Some background, any parcel below 35 acres created after January 10th, 1994 should follow the subdivision resolution. However, this property was formerly in common ownership with the property to the north and was sold as a separate parcel by deed in 1999. The current owner purchased the property in 2020 and discovered it was not legally created in 2024 when preparing a well permit. The owner wishes to build a residence on the property and is requesting an exemption to create a legal parcel. The exemption exhibit shows the proposed 7.02 acre parcel. If granted, the applicant will be required to obtain all necessary permits typically required to build a single-family residence. The property abuts Highway 67 for access, and he will need to obtain a driveway permit from the county at the time of building permit, along with well and septic permits and erosion and sediment control permits. In accordance with Section 903 of the Douglas County Subdivision Resolution, the request must comply with one of the 5 listed criteria to be exempted from the definition of the term subdivision. Specifically, Section 903.05 authorizes subdivision exemption for other divisions of land affected by a deed recorded in the office of the Douglas County Clerk and Recorder that the board determines is not within the purposes of this resolution. In this case, the subject property was created by a recorded deed in 1999. Staff has evaluated the exemption request in accordance with Article 9 of the Douglas County Subdivision Resolution. Should the board find that the criteria for the exemption are met, the following proposed conditions should be considered for inclusion in the motion. All commitments and promises made by the applicant or applicant's representative during the public meeting and or agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving the application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all such commitments and promises. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available to take questions on the staff report at this time if the board wishes. Otherwise, the applicant's representative, Kevin Archer, is available as well.
Great, Trevor. Thank you for that presentation. Any questions for staff? Okay, hearing none, I will ask for the applicant, if the applicant would like to make any comments.
Kevin Archer with Dave Archer and Associates, 105 Wilcox here in Castle Rock. Thanks for hearing the project today, Commissioners. I want to thank staff for helping us through the process. Mr. Allen is traveling, so he can't be here today. However, he might be online if he could get access. Don't have anything further to add, but are available for questions if you have any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to open it up for any citizen comment. Any citizen comment with regard to this item? Okay, not seeing any in the room. Any citizen comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner. No online comment.
Okay, so I will close citizen comment, bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or emotion.
Chair, if it please the board, I do have a motion to approve Allen exemption because it does meet all the approval criteria with one condition as presented. Project file is EX2025-004.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor, and I thought I heard you say that you do accept the conditions? Okay, and I see for the record a nodding from the applicant indicating yes. I'll accept that as a yes on the conditions. Not without any further discussion, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries unanimously. Thank you for that. So moving on to our next item, item 2D, it's the Fields Filing 3 Final Plat, Project File SB 2024-068. Heather Scott, Principal Planner, presenting for staff. Hi, Heather.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Heather Scott, representing Planning Services. The item before you is the Fields Filing 3 Final Plat, project number SB 2024-068. Tom Clark, property owner, and Troy Bales with Rick Engineering Company are here on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is requesting approval of a final plat to subdivide 297.45 acre parcel into 7 lots. This is the last of the final plats within the Fields subdivision. The lots range from 35 acres to 48.9 acres in size. 22 acres will be dedicated for right-of-way for Singing Hill Road and Flintwood Road, and to construct a fire truck turnaround with a fire hydrant. The intent of the final plat process is to provide for the review of final engineering plans, the subdivision improvements agreement, public dedications, and other legal agreements. The final plat process begins with the submittal of an application, following a review period by referral agencies and the public, and acceptance of engineering plans. The request is considered before the board at a public meeting. Referral comments were standard in nature and have been resolved with various changes to the engineering plan and the final exhibit. One neighbor did comment on the physical location of Flintwood Road, cutting off a corner of his property, and wanted the potential owners of lots 1, 2, and 3 to understand they will be traversing his property to get to Flintwood Road. Public Works Engineering clarified the limits of a county prescriptive right-of-way in this area. The site, identified by the red star, is located in the northeast portion of the county, east of Hilltop Road and north of Singing Hills Road. The site shown in the red outline is zoned estate residential. Zooming in on the aerial, the site is west of Flintwood Road. Fields Filing 1 is located to the west, and Fields Filing 2 is southwest of Hilltop Road. The property was zoned agricultural with the inception of zoning in Douglas County back in 1955. The property owners rezoned to estate residential in March 2022. The Fields preliminary plan was approved on November 7th, 2023 for 130 lots on a total of 638.71 acres. The board approved the preliminary plan and waivers of the provision of Section 611 of the Douglas County zoning resolution, that all uses in the ER zone district shall be served by a central water facility and the 12 proposed lots that are greater than 12 acres in size. The large lots are to be served by individual Denver Basin groundwater wells operating pursuant to Division 1 Water Court Case Number 11 CW99. The second waiver was from the requirement that all public distribution lines shall be placed underground in Section 612. There are 3 final plats proposed within the Fields preliminary plan. Fields Filing 1 approved 118 clustered lots northeast of Hilltop Road. Fields Filing 2 approved 5 10-plus acre lots on the southwest side of the preliminary plan. This application is the last plat to be heard by the board. This exhibit shows the proposed subdivision designed per the ER zone district standards. 7 35-plus acre lots will take several shared driveway access off of Flintwood Road. There are 2 100-year floodplains found on site. The county will accept secondary drainage easements over these floodplains with the addition of 50-foot erosional setbacks. The Fields Metro District will accept primary ownership and maintenance for these drainage ways. The county will accept additional right-of-way for future improvements to Flintwood with this final plat. All lots will be served by individual well and septic systems. Following our site photos, this view looks west from the intersection of Flintwood Road and Chinook Trails among the northeast corner of the site. This view looks northwest from Singing Hills Road and Flintwood Road through lots 6 and 7. The existing homestead is in the center of this picture. This is a view that runs north along Flintwood Road. Before you are the approval standards applicable to a final plat. Public Works Engineering has approved all the required studies, reports, and construction plans for this final plat. Staff has evaluated the final plat in accordance with Article 5 of the Douglas County Subdivision Resolution. Should the Board of County Commissioners find the approval standards for the final plat are met, the following proposed conditions should be considered for inclusion in this motion. Condition number 1, prior to plat recordation, the applicant shall pay $4,416.08 to Douglas County for cash in lieu of park land dedication. Condition 2, prior to obtaining the first building permit, the applicant shall pay $2,467 to the Douglas County School District for cash in lieu of school land dedication. Condition number 3, prior to a building permit being issued, the existing well number 126985-A shall be capped and abandoned, or a court-approved augmentation plan obtained per the requirements of the Colorado Division of Water Resources. Condition number 4, during construction activities within the development, the applicants, their successors, and assigns shall take all reasonable care to watch for historic resources, paleontological resources, and other cultural history resources, and shall immediately notify Douglas County in such an event of such discovery. Condition number 5, prior to recordation of the final plat, technical corrections to the plat exhibit shall be made to the satisfaction of Douglas County. Condition number 6, all statements and commitments made by the applicant or the applicant's representative during the public meeting and/or agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving this application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all such commitments and promises. Section 504.06 of the subdivision resolution sets forth the parameters for the board's determination on final plat requests as noted on this slide. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available for questions. Otherwise, Tom Clark and Troy Bales are here to answer any questions you may have on this proposal. Thank you.
Okay, Heather, thank you for that presentation. Any questions for staff?
No questions.
Okay, none for me either. We'll ask the applicant to go ahead and present.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for listening to this application. My name is Troy Bales. I'm with Rick Engineering, 8678 Concord Center Drive, Suite 200, Centennial 80112. I want to thank Ms. Heather Scott for the great presentation. In an effort to avoid to be redundant, I'm going to forego our presentation. But we're here to answer any questions on the application. We've read the conditions of approval and our acceptance of those.
Great, thank you for accepting those conditions. Any questions for the applicant?
No question.
Okay, I have none either. I'm going to open it up for any citizen comment on this item. Is there any citizen comment in the room with regard to this item? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go online. Any citizen comment online?
Thank you, sir. I have no online comment.
Okay, with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I've read through it. I've looked at it. It seems to fit all requirements and standards. Therefore, I move to approve Fields Filing 3 final plat because it does meet all requirements, all the approved criteria with 6 conditions as presented. The project file is SB 2024-068.
Yeah, I mean, Chair, if you recall, when we first saw the initial granting on this land, I mean, this was the part of the project that I liked from the beginning. I won't go into my details of what I didn't like. That's what under the bridge, and we've already dealt with those items, I think, successfully. So I will second.
Okay, great. So we do have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that does carry unanimously. Congrats. So with that, we're going to move on to item 3, which is our public hearing agenda items. We do have 3 items for today. Item 3A is Keene Ranch Plan Development Third Amendment, Major Amendment, Project File ZR 2023-007. Matt Jacobowski, Chief Planner, presenting for staff. Hi, Matt.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Matt Jacobowski, representing Planning Services. The request is the Keene Ranch Plan Development Third Amendment, project number ZR 2023-007. Carla Rouse and Leanne Roth are here on behalf of the Keene Ranch HOA as applicant. The request is a major plan development amendment to the Keene Ranch PD residential planning area development standards. The proposal removes a prohibition from the development standards that restricts installation of fencing within 50 feet of a right-of-way. The amendment would allow residents to install fencing at their property lines. A PD amendment request shall be considered a major amendment if it meets one of the criteria as stated in section 1519. In this case, the simplicity of this PD amendment is required because all 247 property owners within the subdivision are impacted by this development standard change. As the text change impacts everyone, that's why a major PD amendment is required. The process begins with the submittal of an application. Following comments by staff, the request is forwarded to referral agencies. At the beginning of the referral period, courtesy notifications of an application in process are sent to all property owners in the PD and property owners abutting the PD. The applicant is given the opportunity to address referral comments and other issues before hearings at the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners. All referral agencies responded with no comment, no objection, or provided no response, except County Engineering did point out that there are some existing 20-foot roadway and utility easements platted adjacent to roadways, and the Engineering Department wanted to just make sure that the HOA was aware of that, and if there was any work required within those easements, It might mean that a property owner needs to know that. There might need to be a temporary removal of fencing and a reinstallation. The HOA responded to indicate that it is educating and will educate residents about these easements. It has a review during its architectural review committee analysis, and so that's covered. In addition, there's no restriction or impediment to access to those easements. As far as public comments, 2 members of the public commented in support of the project. One resident had some concerns that the existing pedestrian and equestrian easements could be blocked by fencing. However, the PD already indicates that no fencing is allowed to block those easements, so there's no issue there as well. At the August 4th, 2025 Planning Commission hearing, the Planning Commission unanimously approved the proposal by a vote of 8-0. The HOA again provided some background to the Planning Commission on the education it provides to residents. There were no members of the public that spoke regarding the application. Keene Ranch is identified by the red star just west of the town of Castle Rock, near the interchange of I-25 and Toma Road. This zoning map shows the boundaries of the PD, which is in brown. That's the color we have in our land use zoning maps for PD. It's generally surrounded by large lot residential, especially A1 parcels. Here's an aerial view of the site for some context as well. Again, the blue boundary being the PD boundary. As some background, the Keene Ranch PD was approved by the board in 1989 for quite a few units, 730 units. A First Amendment reduced that number to the current 247. In 2000, there was a Second Amendment which would have allowed fencing within natural drainages. That was withdrawn. This proposal, also to do with fencing, would allow fencing on property boundaries, as would be in pretty much all of Douglas County. This is a view of the development standard proposed for amendment today. The last sentence of the development standards in PA1 and PA2, which are the 2 planning areas in the PD regarding residential development, are impacted. So basically you can see that it removes that prohibition. This is the PA1 standard, the PA2 standard, just for the record. The approval standards for a PD rezoning are set forth in section 1520 and listed on this slide. Approval standards are discussed within pages 5 and 6 of the staff report. Staff has evaluated the major PD amendment request in accordance with section 15 of the zoning resolution. Should the board find that the approval standards have been met, staff proposes the following conditions for inclusion in the motion. Condition number 1, prior to recordation, all technical corrections to the Keene Ranch Plan Development Third Amendment document shall be made to the satisfaction of Douglas County. And condition number 2, all commitments and promises made by the applicant or the applicant's representative during the public hearing and or agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving the application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all such commitments and promises. Section 152208 sets forth the parameters for the board's determination of a PD amendment as shown on this slide. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available to take any questions at this point as you wish on the staff report. Otherwise, we have Carla Rouse and Leanne Roth of the HOA to answer any questions you may have regarding the HOA and their application.
Okay, great. Thanks, Matt. Any questions for Matt?
I do.
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair. Hey, Matt, so applicant representatives, or did I understand your last sentence to mean that this is a application coming from the Keene Ranch Homeowners Association?
Matt Jacobowski for staff. This application is from Keene Ranch HOA, so they are the applicant.
Okay, that's the clarity I needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Van Winkle, any questions? I don't think I have any either. We'll invite the applicant to come up and make their presentation if they'd like. Welcome. And if you want to just state your name and where you're from for the record.
Afternoon, Commissioners. My name's Leanne Roth, and I'm the President of the Keene Ranch Board of Directors. I'm a Keene Ranch resident and a Douglas County resident. I am joined this afternoon by Carla Rouse, who is our Architectural Review Committee chairperson. While we don't have a formal presentation for you this afternoon, Carla will go over a little bit of the history of the fencing issue that we have and the reason why we are seeking your approval on this amendment. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Do you need me to spell my name? I guess not. R-O-U-S-E, Carla Rouse.
Perfect, thank you.
The declarant in the beginning, right after the PD was formed and he began selling the units in our community, added a 4-foot-tall, 3-rail wooden post and dowel fence on the 35-acre parcels. And with that, he set a precedent that we have been living with for all this time, with other people wanting to have their fencing also on the property line. So he didn't follow the 50-foot setback. And we have, our lot sizes are from, most of them are 4.5 through 35 acres. And so a lot of our property is with people having horses or other animals, and they would like to use their entire property. We believe that the declarant, also because the fencing wasn't set at that time, we had to come up with a declaration. There may have been an issue if we were going to try and put a taller fence or a full slat fence. Since our approved wooden fence is the 4-foot-tall, 3-rail wooden post and dowel, even though we have a winding road community, we have the ability to see around all the corners. And I think the traffic folks looked at that. So we do have a number of neighbors that would like to use their entire fenced area. We also had a vote of the community in 2022 to amend our declaration. It had previously stated that our minimum setbacks regarding any improvements within the setbacks were not allowed, and we had the community approve it through an overwhelming majority to allow the perimeter fence, which is the 4-foot-tall, 3-rail wooden post and dowel, along the property line if we could get the plan development changed with you guys. I think that's the majority I was going to say, except for with the Architectural Review Committee, when we do approve a fence, we state in there the first 20 foot of your property from the road right-of-way is the utility road easement. If you put a fence there, and some people have, the utility company has to, and they have to do any work in that easement, they can tear down the fence and you get to pay to reinstall or fix it yourself because it is their easement. So that is standard in all of our approval letters to make sure that all homeowners understand. And that's for landscaping as well as fencing. Whatever they put in there, it's on them. So I believe that's it, unless you have any questions for me.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Any questions for the applicant? Nope. You know, I will say in my district, in District 1, I mean, we're elected at large, so we represent the whole county, but we each come from districts. I am dealing with a fencing issue in a metro district in District 1, so I get it. And sometimes neighborhoods have to organize at the micro-local level to do what's best for your community, and sometimes things just change over time, and you got to do those sorts of things. So it definitely makes sense. I'm not sure that I have any questions. Did we, I didn't see anything in the packet in terms of opposition or letters of objection, or is there any?
Matt Jakubowski for staff. There was one member of the public that asked a question about whether the fence would go in front of the pedestrian and equestrian easements in the plat, which would not be the case because the PD does not allow it, so there was no objection.
Just a point of inquiry, maybe.
Correct.
Okay, thanks, Matt, for that. Okay, I don't have any other questions than that. So with that, I'll open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment in the room with regard to this item? Okay, is there any citizen comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, so with that, I'll bring it back to the board. But before I do, let me ask, is the applicant okay with the two conditions as presented? Okay, and if you just want to state that on the record, I apologize.
Leanne Roth, President, Board HOA. Yes, we are happy
Okay.
with those. Yes.
Thank you so much for that, ma'am. Is there a motion from the board?
Please, the board, Mr. Chair. First of all, well, before I start the formal motion, I love these sort of issues before the board. Once a neighborhood first seeks to find concord within the neighborhood. And of course, Keene Ranch, I know you guys are really spread out, so it's not just a matter of walk 2 blocks, and knock on every door in order to rally a vote. So obviously, you guys did a great deal of homework. I'm only disappointed, and I hope it's not our fault that we're seeing this after a 2022 vote. We're seeing it here 3 years later. Hopefully, that's not our fault. If it is, I'm really sorry. But no, I think it's great. I commend the leadership of the Homeowners Association for kind of getting this corralled, getting your neighbors to come to an accord. And then thanks for putting it through. I think doing it right and making the changes at every level that's necessary is absolutely the right way to do it. So I really commend Keene Ranch. You guys are, I mean, you know me, I'm a neighbor. I live in Castle Rock. But I think Keene Ranch has always been known for doing things right and doing things the right way. So if it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve the Keene Ranch Plan Development Third Amendment because it does meet all of the approval criteria with 2 conditions as presented and agreed to. Project file ZR 2023-007.
I second that motion, and I would also add ditto to everything Commissioner Teal just said. It's refreshing to see an HOA, a relatively non-controversial HOA, bring something to the board here that has really come from the community and the interest of their community. So happy to second the motion.
Great, so we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
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 Aye, and that motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, and thanks for coming down to spend some time with us. So with that, we're going to move on to our second public hearing agenda item, and that's item 3B, Highlands Ranch Plan Development, 80th Amendment, Major Amendment, Project File ZR 2025-001. Once again, Matt Jacobowski presenting for staff.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Matt Jacobowski representing Planning Services. The request is the Highlands Ranch Plan Development 80th Amendment, project number ZR 2025-001. Adam Wallace of Page West Acquisitions and Mallory Mooney of Norris Design are here as applicant. The request is a major plan development amendment to the Highlands Ranch Plan Development Planning Area 85 to add 400 dwelling units to that planning area. The applicant intends to develop 2 parcels, 4.6 and 10.2 acres in size, into a multifamily development. A future site improvement plan would be required for development of that or those 2 parcels and that project. A PD amendment request shall be considered a major amendment if it meets 1 or more criteria as stated in section 1519 of the zoning resolution. In this case, a greater than 20% increase in dwelling units is proposed in the planning area, thus the major PD amendment is required. The major PD amendment process begins with the submittal of an application. Following comments by staff, the request is forwarded to referral agencies. At the beginning of the referral period, courtesy notifications are provided to property owners, notifying them of the application and process. The applicant is given an opportunity to address referral comments or other issues that arose during referral before they achieve public hearings at the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners. Referral comments were generally standard in nature on this proposal. The applicant has obtained a will-serve letter from Highlands Ranch Water and received approval of the proposed rezoning from the Highlands Ranch Community Association. Parks and schools fees would be addressed at a future site improvement plan process. Engineering provided comments regarding the applicant's traffic study, which is required at this phase, even though there's not a full design of an overall project that's been provided. These comments were addressed by the applicant, and it's recognized that implementation of the traffic study recommendations would occur at site plan, and any fine-tuning of traffic and any discussion of traffic would occur at site plan. Although I spoke to several neighbors on an informational basis regarding the project, I did not receive any comments from the public or any comments from neighboring property owners or property owners within the plan development. Basically, no opposition thus far to the project. The Planning Commission heard the proposal at a public hearing on August 4th, 2025, and recommended approval by a vote of 8-0. The Planning Commission questioned why multifamily residential, which uniquely enough, although there's a request to add 400 units to Planning Area 85, multifamily development, the multifamily use is allowed already within Planning Area 85. So the Planning Commission asked why that was the case, why the use could be permitted, and why units need to be assigned to the planning area. Staff provided the background on that history. The Planning Commission also asked about Ben Franklin Academy Charter, which is across Plaza Circle or Plaza Drive from the proposal, and how there might be impacts on traffic and impacting the school. The applicant provided details from its traffic engineer on the traffic plan and how they'd be able to coexist. And no members of the public spoke at the Planning Commission hearing. As context, which is easier to understand on these maps, the site is identified by the red star on the northern tip of Douglas County at the intersection of Kendrick Castillo Way and C470. This zoning map shows that the site is located within the Highlands Ranch Plan Development. As you can see, it's surrounded by brown, which is the PD color. The blue outline is Planning Area 85. That's in question for the proposed amendment. The yellow outline is Planning Area 85A, which is directly adjacent to Planning Area 85 and is of interest because there are 285 units assigned to that planning area in which a multifamily development exists, as has been already approved. The red boundaries are the two parcels that the applicant controls, by which, if this were approved, they would propose a multifamily development. This aerial provides a little better context of land uses. Again, the same colors, blue for Planning Area 85, red for the two parcels the applicant controls, and yellow for Planning Area 85A. The Planning Area 85 area includes 4 parcels. This is Ben Franklin Academy Charter on the south side of Plaza Drive. Here's Kendrick Castillo Way, for context, C470. The 2 parcels that the applicant controls abut the Children's Ranch Hospital site. Here's Plaza Circle. This parcel that's left over here is actually owned by RTD. I don't know if it will ever happen, but there is a potential end-of-the-line light rail station, bus, and park and ride proposed, which is why RTD has that parcel. This is the 285-unit Planning Area 85A development, which is called Solana, directly next door to the west. The area in general includes uses that you might see around a potential transit station at a major interchange. So there are some offices to the east, there's some additional development, and even some more dense development closer to the site on the south side. This is the Highlands Ranch Golf Club, a little bit off the property. And as some background, the Highlands Ranch PD was approved in 1979. In 1988, Planning Area 85 was established. As I mentioned, although multifamily residential development is an allowed use in Planning Area 85, the proposal would allow and assign 400 units to that planning area. In 2015, Planning Area 85A was created, and 285 units were, developed as a site plan and a multifamily project. Those lots, including the lots in Planning Area 85 in question, were platted in 2015 as part of a minor development plat. And then, of course, 2016 is when that 285 unit development was approved. Before you is the actual change to the PD. So this is a copy and paste of the Highlands Ranch Plan Development Plan map, specific to the high density residential planning information in the development plan. So the areas highlighted in yellow show Planning Area 85 and show the proposed 400 units that would be assigned. You can see It also includes the subtotal and totals of units in Highlands Ranch and the overall PD. Following are some site photos. This view looks east from Plaza Circle through the parcels that the applicant controls. You can see up on the right here is Children's Hospital. This view looks northwest from Plaza Circle. This is the 285 unit project that I've mentioned, and this is Ben Franklin Academy. This view looks north from Plaza Circle through the parcel currently owned by RTD, and you can see C470 in the background. This view looks southwest through the site from Plaza Circle. Again, this is Ben Franklin Academy. And finally, this view is from the very edge of the Ben Franklin Academy campus looking to the northeast, the 285 unit development on the left side, and Plaza Drive in the foreground. The approval standards for a PD rezoning are set forth in section 1520 and listed on this slide. Approval standards are discussed within pages 5 and 6 of the staff report. Staff has evaluated the major PD amendment request in accordance with section 15 of the zoning resolution. Should the board find that the approval standards have been met, staff proposes the following conditions for inclusion in the motion, which include condition number 1, prior to recordation, all technical corrections to the Highlands Ranch Plan Development 80th Amendment document shall be made to the satisfaction of Douglas County. And condition number 2, all commitments and promises made by the applicant or the applicant's representative during the public hearing and or agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving the application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all such commitments and promises. Section 152208 sets forth the parameters for the board's determination of a PD amendment. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available to take questions on the staff report at this time. Otherwise, Adam Wallace and Mallory Mooney, here as applicant, have a presentation as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions for staff?
No questions.
I do have a question, Mr. Chairman. This site is located directly next to Children's Hospital, and the back side of which would be looking directly at this future development. It has those big floor-to-ceiling windows across that whole backside. It's a big point of Children's Hospital, I know, for the treatment of their patients, that they have those, well, frankly, just all the natural light, wonderful views, things like that that come along that normally don't come with a hospital, but for kids in a hospital, it's important. I guess, is there any potential that this would be in the line site of the hospital? Is it being developed as a 2-story apartment, a 3-story apartment?
Matt Jacobowski for staff. The applicant in their presentation has some information I think that would be able to guide you in that question, and they'd be better to answer that.
I look forward. I'll wait for the presentation for further questions.
Okay, thanks. I don't have any additional questions. I'll call the applicant forward for your presentation, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Adam Wallace. I live at 2106 West 32nd Ave, Denver, Colorado. Well, thank you for the opportunity to share this presentation. Before I begin, I want to thank the Douglas County staff, especially Matt Jacobowski, for their help in getting over the finish line and to this point in the process. They've done a great job thus far. We're here today to request an amendment to the Highlands Ranch PD to add 400 residential units to Planning Area 85. I'll begin with a quick overview of what we'll cover. We'll present the site context in context with the surrounding area. We'll provide a project overview of our early concepts. We'll give an outline of our conformance with the comprehensive plan as well as the criteria for approval. And lastly, we'll end with our stakeholder engagement and feedback. Here we have the project team, Page West as the developer, Kimley Horn as our traffic and civil engineer, and Norris Design as our planning consultant. Give you a little bit more on Page West. We are a Colorado-based development firm focused on creating thoughtful and quality housing communities. Page West is a small developer. I'm one of 2 co-founders local to Colorado. I'm based in Denver, and I've been involved with the development of over 4,000 apartment units in my career, the majority of which have been across the Front Range. As an organization, we have an emphasis on quality, long-term community building, and with that, a responsive and collaborative approach to design and entitlements. Tonight is the culmination of 3 years of effort on this site, so we are very glad and excited to be here today. Here, we borrowed this from Matt Jacobowski's presentation, but we think it's really helpful to provide further context on the planning area. Our 2 parcels are obviously highlighted in red, and we wanted to call out the zoning that currently exists. It's very flexible zoning. It's an industrial zoning that allows for both commercial as well as mixed-use residential. The commercial has a height limit up to 90 feet and really spans in uses between service stations to retail to office to heavy industrial. The residential uses span from a single family attached to duplex to multifamily and has a height limit of 50 feet. Here we're looking to put into context the proposed multifamily use with the surrounding land use areas. The black line to the north shows the county line and boundary line for the Highlands Ranch Plan development. The pink line to the south shows the delineation point of where single family abuts multifamily or commercial within this area. As you can see, our site is in the center of a land use defined by commercial and multifamily uses. Due to the surrounding land use, we believe a higher density multifamily use would be the most appropriate way to provide housing in this location. While this is supported by compatibility with surrounding multifamily communities, we also believe the nearby employment drivers also drive the need for housing density in this location. And I'll pause here to kind of point out the employment centers here. You have commercial through the hospital here. You have office here, aerospace office here, UC Health here, as well as retail here and office up along here. So here's a zoomed in aerial of the site. The site is a total of 15 acres with 10 acres to the east and 5 acres to the west. We're bounded by Plaza Drive, C470, Children's Hospital, and the RTD parcel. Our adjacent neighbors are Ben Franklin Academy, the Creekside Apartments, which is this community here, and Solana Lucent Station, which is up here. Here's our early conceptual site improvement plan. On the east lot, you'll see we have 16 apartments programmed via a 4-story community. On the west lot, we have 3-story townhomes planned with attached 2-car garages. The east lot will be comprised primarily of studios, 1-bedrooms, and 2-bedrooms. This will range from 600 square feet for a studio to 1,250 square feet for a 2-bedroom. The townhomes will be larger in their square footage and range from 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms. This will range from a 1,300 square foot 2-bedroom to a 1,800 square foot 4-bedroom unit. The 2 communities are intended to share amenities, whether it's our fitness center, our outdoor space, our pool courtyard, or various clubhouse and gathering spaces. In connection with our project, and Matt referenced this in his presentation, we're going to be adding a full signalized intersection at the corner of Plaza Drive and where Greensboro abuts Plaza Circle. There's kind of discussion of how our project will impact Ben Franklin Academy. We've met with the Ben Franklin Academy. They had no objection, and we're excited about activating the land use here. We also believe that this signal will help kind of break up traffic patterns that are heading through here, as well as provide a signalized pedestrian access. And then we are also restricting the left-hand turn movement from this access point here between pickup and drop-off hours. Additionally, you'll see, the intent here is to encourage vehicular traffic to use this signalized intersection, as we think most of our residents will do. This slide is really intended to share the architectural and character imagery of the townhome community. You'll see 3-story masses, high-quality masonry, street-oriented frontages, and outdoor gathering spaces. Here is the character imagery for the apartments. You'll see 4-story masses, again, masonry, street-oriented frontages, outdoor community spaces and green space. And generally, the overarching intent is to comply with the high architectural character within Highlands Ranch. We will also be working with the Highlands Ranch Community Association as a reviewing body during our site improvement plan, and look forward to collaborating with them on our elevations and material palette. So here I'd like to provide some examples on who we expect to live in our community and shed some light on the benefits this project will bring both to Highlands Ranch and the broader Douglas County area. We expect to appeal to a highly diverse renter base, and in doing so, provide quality housing for all types of county residents. Residents will be healthcare professionals at UC Health and Children's Hospital. There'll be nurses, medical students, new doctors who just moved here, and any of the thousands of staff that these hospitals require to provide care to the community. They will be employees at Lockheed Martin, Blue Origin, or other nearby aerospace companies. There'll be baristas or bartenders from one of the many retail establishments in the area, young families looking to move to Douglas County, who cannot yet afford to buy, young college graduates who grew up in Highlands Ranch looking to get on their feet and rent their first apartments close to home, and even grandparents who are seasonal renters looking to get close to their kids and grandkids who live in Highlands Ranch. Overall, we believe this project will bring a host of benefits to both Highlands Ranch and Douglas County. Our project will provide park and school fees that will combine to be into the 7 figures. We're providing traffic improvements via traffic signal. We're supporting growing local employers through providing much-needed access to quality housing. We're filling gaps in the housing ladder through providing a high-quality access point for new members of the community to find housing in Highlands Ranch of all types. Many of our renters will become future homeowners in Highlands Ranch, bolstering the existing stability of the Highlands Ranch community. Overall, we intend to add respectful and quality neighbors to Highlands Ranch and Douglas County. So I'll move on and move over to our conformance to the county's comprehensive plan. I won't read all of this, and in summary, I'll outline our compliance. The plan development amendment allows for an infill project within a primary urban area near existing jobs and services. The proposed use is compatible with neighboring residential, school, and commercial uses. The proposed use supports the infill development surrounding a future transit station. The in-place infrastructure and services have been confirmed as adequate to support the proposed use. Moving on to the approval criteria. Again, I will summarize. The proposed amendment is consistent with the plan development's land use vision and underlying zoning. The proposed amendment is infill in nature and will support efficient development and housing diversity goals of the plan development. Traffic, water, fire, and school infrastructure are all adequately addressed and accommodated. And lastly, this amendment, through added housing options, enhanced community stability, and improved traffic flows, will create value for the broader community within the plan development area. So we will conclude with our stakeholder outreach and summarize the feedback and approvals we have received thus far. We've noticed the HOA of the golf course community that sits just to our west, as well as all the surrounding neighbors, for a neighborhood meeting held on April 16th, 2025. We heard no objection. We had a one-on-one meeting with RTD to discuss their future goals for the site to the north. They were in support of placing housing next to future transit. We had a conversation with Ben Franklin Academy to discuss their pickup and drop-off pattern. They did not have any concerns with the development and looked forward to activation of the real estate. We met with South Metro Fire. They confirmed they had adequate capacity to serve our development. We met with Highlands Ranch Metro District. They did not have any concerns. We met with Highlands Ranch Water. They did not have concerns and confirmed adequate capacity to serve our project. We met and presented to the Highlands Ranch Community Association. They do not have any objection to the project, and we look forward to continuing to coordinate with them during the site improvement plan process. And finally, we received unanimous approval from Planning Commission last week. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you so much for that presentation, Adam. Certainly very thorough, and excited to see a lot of the different amenities and options that you're offering here. Let me open it up to the board for any questions or comments.
No questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So 400 new rental units. How many residents or new renters would you anticipate? Is it two or is it three per unit or?
So it'll depend per the use. So for the traditional apartments, let's say it's an average of 1.2 residents, people per unit, considering our mix is going to be 60 to 70% studios and one bedrooms, 30% two bedrooms. On the townhomes, maybe it's 2.5 per unit. So approximately, again, this site will progress and kind of get our final unit count as we go through the site improvement plan process. For now, 75 townhome units is a really good placeholder. And so it'd be 75 times 2.5.
75 town, yeah, I'm on, sorry. So you're anticipating 75 townhomes. For the apartment complexes, would those be, I asked earlier, like 2-story, 3-story?
Yeah, so, and I can jump back to, there it is. Well, so this is a good representation. This is a 4-story apartment community, which is what will be programmed on the east 10 acres. And I'll show that in, I'm going the opposite way. Here. So that is effectively the programming of this eastern lot. This western lot will be 3 stories. I know you mentioned a question earlier to staff on views from the Children's Hospital, and so we can speak to that. We actually pulled the site improvement plan of the hospital to get their finished floor elevation, and you can see that there's a lot of grade differential. I think, Matt, you had an aerial that maybe we could pull up that helped illustrate, I think it was a view of the hospital, kind of how steep that grade sits, but our buildings will sit about 30 feet lower than level 1 of the hospital. And so we'll have about a 45-foot tall building, and then we'll also be around 300 feet, I guess, away, separated from that building frontage.
Okay. Yeah, I did see that picture. It looks like maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
20
So,
feet, 30 feet.
and this is a 60-foot regional Denver water easement, and we're actually going to have to push this even further down to meet with. Really, that's our primary entrance, and that entry point is going to drive the elevation of the first floor for the rest of the site for us.
Okay. And if you could go to, I know you showed on there kind of a big grass field with a dog playing in it, but 400 units on this very small piece of property, was that kind of projected to be here? A big grass
So this will have, so I guess, yeah, Matt, this is a very handy slide. This arrow here illustrates we'd be looking at the 4-story apartment community. This will not have 400 units. This will have likely 300 units. And then the townhomes will make up the balance of the unit. And again, we put 400 units in our amendment just as, because we don't know the final unit count. This is a complicated site. There's a lot of grade. Our unit count typically pushes and pulls plus or minus 3 to 5% as you go through the design process.
Yeah, that makes sense. but probably not room for like a big grass field or big park area. I know there's a pool.
Sorry to make you jump back and forth. So we will have open space in both areas. We're going to try to do the best we can. So,
There, that one.
thank you. You know, the intent is we'll have kind of a more passive, open courtyard for dogs to run. You know, we're actually looking at rotating this kind of double-loaded road or alley of units and rotating it 90 degrees, and we'll kind of create a center spine or greenway for the townhome parcel. And the intent really is you'll have, you know, it'll be very nice kind of activation of Plaza Drive and Plaza Circle with units where folks can walk out their front door, access the sidewalk, and kind of walk to Flying Bee Park or cross Kendrick Castillo and go grab a coffee or bite to eat for lunch or whatever.
Well, and townhomes are exceptionally necessary right now in the community. But those in the east side, that's the 4-story apartments that back up to the Children's Hospital right there.
Correct.
And then there's a new, that'll be a brand new light in the bottom left.
Yep, that's correct.
Are there any improvements foreseen for the exits on and off C470 or to the light right next door on Kendrick Castillo?
Kind of right through here?
Probably. Well, right now it kind of backs up. Well, on ramps and off ramps back up. Is there any aspect of the project whatsoever that touches C470 on and off?
No, I mean, we're kind of intentionally not messing with CDOT, and we, you know, there's no curb cut or access point off of this on-ramp for C470, so that this is fully outside the scope of our project.
Yeah. So that would probably be actually a staff question, what future improvements are seen for that I-20 or C470 Kendrick Castillo?
Matt Jacobowski for staff. We should have one of our engineers here that might be able to address that because it's a traffic question. Looks like we have Al Peterson here.
Al Peterson for engineering staff. I do know that once you get on, is that Castillo Way? They're going to lengthen, that's also part of their traffic study, that they're going to lengthen the left-hand turn lanes to go eastbound on Plaza Drive. So that is actually an off-site improvement that they are also going to do that was also identified in your traffic study. So that should help that intersection, Commissioner Van Winkle. As far as what CDOT's doing, I'm not aware of any improvements that are being proposed at this time.
The Children's Hospital intersection, they're contributing dollars to in the
Children's Hospital?
Not the Children's Hospital, no. The intersection, if you expanded the map just barely, which you can't, but the main intersection to get to this future there.
Right.
It'd be the stoplight there at Kendrick Castillo and Plaza. And Target's right there, and the other hospitals right there.
There we go.
Okay. So no improvements to the off-ramp, no improvements to here, but these left turn lanes right here, there's a double stack turn lane right there.
Yeah.
And they're going to expand those by 75 additional feet, from 250 feet to 325 for this left turn movement, which is the busiest part of that whole thing.
Wait, I had it right to the very end, the left turn, so the turn lane's moving away from the site?
That's correct. There's a bigger traffic flow going to the east than there is to the west.
Target, yeah. Target in the hospital.
Yes.
Well, but that doesn't help with the future increased traffic of maybe 800 people or 1,000 people getting in their cars every morning.
Plaza Circle's got the capacity to take it. The nice part about putting that signal in right there is it's going to break up for this intersection and for this intersection for Ben Franklin School, so that you're not having a complete travel path from here to here, so that breaks this up.
Well, my concern is the morning when Ben Franklin School has hundreds of cars coming to it, because there's no bus service whatsoever for Ben Franklin.
Right.
And 800 to 1,000 new residents are also getting their cars.
Well, they're getting out and they're predominantly going this way.
Yeah.
And Ben Franklin has a double left turn lane in to load the school.
Drop off your kid and then you leave
Right.
on the same street.
Well, they drop them off in the site. So predominantly all of this, residents right here are going to go this way. Ben Franklin School has to go past this intersection, and they're going to limit their traffic coming out of here. So that just leaves, Ben Franklin already has a double left into the stacking lane.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not anticipated to create a problem with Ben Franklin.
I find that a
You want to
bit
elaborate
difficult.
to that?
I know they said they had a phone conversation with the communications director, so that was a relief to see. But there's an awful lot of new residents with vehicles that will be pushed into the site between the hospital, the future RTD development, and the charter school.
Yeah, go.
Jeff Plank with Kimley Horn, 6200 South Syracuse Way, Greenwood Village 80111. I helped to prepare the traffic study for this site, and so just I'm going to talk high level of kind of all the intersections you've been talking about. The westbound ramp at C470 and Kendrick Castillo Way operates at level service C throughout the 2045 horizon with background traffic growth. With the existing configuration, vehicle queues are contained. The same with the eastbound ramp to the south there. That's level service B throughout the 2045 horizon. The intersection at Kendrick Castillo Way in Plaza Circle is built to the ultimate configuration. You have dual left turn lanes on each approach. Max full cross section through lanes, 3 in each direction northbound, 2 in each direction eastbound, and right turn lanes on approaches. Operates level service D, acceptable operations throughout the 2045 horizon. There's no really need for improvement there. The reference southbound to eastbound dual left turn lanes, that's independent of the project identified in the traffic study. Obviously, no one from the project would be going southbound to eastbound. That's just not a way that you can get to and from the project. Now getting to the critical signal. The signal makes sense at Greensboro and the East Plaza Circle loop because that's where the girth of the development is. And with the demand to go east, the southbound left turn movements are the driving movements that warrant signalization. Those are the movements that fail under stop control. Right turns are a lot easier. And that would also service the Greensboro Drive community. The school has no intentions of having signal control because currently they cone off that access that aligns at the west loop and does not allow movements during left turn movements exiting that site during the peak hour. And they funnel their traffic through the western intersection. Okay. And there's also going to be pedestrian crossing at the southern intersection. That doesn't happen today at both intersections. Because that is a loop road, there's no reason to signalize both. And from a signal progression standpoint, they're too close together. And so it makes a lot more sense to have the southern intersection signalized.
Yeah, that makes sense to me as well. My greatest concern was the Kendrick Castillo and Plaza Drive intersection, which is already incredibly busy.
It operates at level service D today. The whole surrounding area is primarily at full growth. We're showing 0.36% annual growth in our traffic study based on Dr. Cog projections. We conservatively tripled that and did 1% annual growth all the way through the 2045 horizon and included any known development. And so with our project traffic and the 1% growth, the level service D can still be maintained.
So adding 400 units, 800 to 1,000 people with cars is a 1% increase in traffic?
1% plus our project.
Oh, 1%'s in natural growth, and then plus
1% annually, and so you grow it another 20 years, and exponentially you're at like a 1.3% growth factor, so you had about 30% growth plus project.
Plus the project. on that Kinder Castillo and Plaza Drive.
Yep.
Okay.
And projections are showing 10% growth, and we did a 30% growth when you look at it from like a 20-year instead of an individual annual growth. As far as the project traffic, you have 204 trips during the peak hour. A trip in and a trip out is 2 trips, and so that's 3.5 trips per minute. And if we have 65% of our traffic going east, 70%, that is 2.5 trips entering that signal every minute. There's a lot more than, I have approach volumes and could do calculations, but, there's 1,800 vehicles southbound during the peak hour on Kendrick Castillo. There is 1,900 northbound, and you have 500 vehicles eastbound, and we're adding, the 3 per minute and 204 per hour.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that line of inquiry, and thanks to the applicant for the thorough responses. Obviously, this is your district, Commissioner Van Winkle, so appreciate the interest. I just have a couple of questions, so don't go too far. Couple things. One is, so it's not all of the housing product is for rent. We're not talking about any sort of opportunity for people to purchase.
That is correct. They could be converted to for sale product in the future, but right now we are anticipating a for rent community.
Okay. And that's, from a county and a county commissioner perspective, we are very interested in workforce housing to make sure that, those building blocks of wealth can be acquired by members of law enforcement, veterans, retail workers, people that are working here. We'd like for them to be able to live here affordably and not create traffic issues for us by commuting from Lakewood and Arvada and other places to get to Douglas County. So I'm not sure if that's meeting the philosophical need around increased housing stock for people to purchase. So that's certainly a concern of mine. I share Commissioner Van Winkle's concern about density. It does seem like a very significant number of units, especially so close to a school. I feel like I remember Ben Franklin coming in and talking about some of the challenges associated with traffic patterns and parking, and it just seemed tough as it was. So adding 400 units with potentially, 2.5 per unit, maybe 1,000 people more to that area seems very high.
I do want to interject that that ratio of 2.5 people per unit is really just respective for the townhomes, which is 75 units. So if you apply the ratios I was mentioning earlier of, we have around 300 units of traditional apartments that will be predominantly studios and 1 bedrooms with some 2 bedrooms. It's typically 1.2 people per apartment unit, plus 2.5 times 75. That's around 550 residents.
Okay, total 550?
Correct.
Okay.
And again, we will be, yes, we're adding 400 units to the PD. The reality is our density is going to end up being much lower by the time we deal with the grade that exists on the site. Additionally, to the comment on the missing middle, we absolutely agree. And while we also believe that for sale housing is it's part of the American dream, it's a very important rung and the ladder for many Americans. We believe that a rental community like this, that is quality, that provides a very diverse mix of housing options between studios all the way up to 4-bedroom townhomes, is able to provide the consumer and folks who work in Douglas County a very accessible and even more accessible option that would be cheaper than an otherwise mortgage payment on a for sale community. And that then allows them to build their income, build their net worth, to then make that next step to buy. So we see it as a rung just below home ownership, that these are very mature, seasoned folks and members of the community that are saving up to purchase. We expect we'll lose most of our residents to home ownership rather than going to another community or another apartment community.
Yeah, I don't see how. I mean, right now in this market with the margins so thin for commercial developers, I mean, the average rental rate is anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000, right, for some of the units you're describing. That is very close to an average mortgage. Now, in Douglas County, the mortgage is probably going to be significantly higher depending on that down payment, but I don't see that as a natural building block of wealth. I see that as crippling our consumers and making it very hard for workforce to afford to live here, candidly. So again, I think looking for that housing stock to meet the needs of that missing middle, as a commissioner, that is really a large priority and a massive missing gap for our entire county. Let me ask you another question about just the proximity to 470. You know, another concern I have is just the quiet enjoyment.
Sure.
You know, obviously on the opposite side of town, we're constantly dealing with the airport authority and, you know, mitigation of noise, navigation easements and things of that nature. In terms of building materials and decibel rating, I mean, what do you have going on for sound mitigation?
Absolutely. And so those are all things that we expect to further define in the site improvement plan process. We do intend to upgrade the STC rating of the windows up along the highway. And then again, the way the grade sits, there's kind of a natural bluff that protects the site from the highway. So through really the combination of both grading and the STC rating of the windows, we expect to accommodate or mitigate any noise issues from C470.
Yeah, because I mean, I live in Lone Tree and no aspersions being cast, but I think the proximity to incredible noise makes it very difficult. I don't want to establish a community of, you know, 400 to 500 people that are miserable because they can't get any sleep, right? So I think that site improvement plan, or at least the conversation around that is important. Did you address the view shed issue on the Children's Hospital?
Yes. So as I mentioned to Commissioner Van Winkle, our site will sit 30 feet below the first floor of the Children's Hospital. And so the effect is the top level, and additionally will be around 350, 375 feet away from that building. And so we'll effectively, it's about a 15-foot of profile will kind of match, will extend above the first floor of the Children's Hospital.
So everything above that first floor is really going to have clear view shed of the west?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, those are all my questions for now. Any other questions or comments from the board?
If you could go back to the picture of the land looking at the Children's Hospital. So, and it sounds like what will be necessary to do is to remove a tremendous amount of dirt and start the ground level, yeah, there. So you said 30 feet below Children's Hospital.
Yeah, so that is the first floor there.
Yeah.
This is a heavy dirt work site. Our grading design is conceptual at best right now, but that is, we do have a conceptual grading plan, and I believe I have it written down in anticipation of this. It's 5583 is where we expect our buildings to sit, and level 1 of the hospital is 5613.
Okay. If there's no additional discussion or questions, I'll open it up for any citizen comment with regard to this item. Any citizen comment in the room or online with regard to this item?
Commissioner, I have no online comment.
Thanks, Troy. So with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or motion. And I apologize. Before I do that, you said you're okay with all the 2 conditions as presented?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. Discussion from the board.
Well, one thing that Highlands Ranch has noted in their memo is an ongoing Highlands Ranch complaint that comes, I think, with every new apartment complexes, which is and just quoting them, historically converting areas designed as an industrial park to residential has raised concerns about the impacts on the future tax base of Highlands Ranch if it were to try to incorporate. A plain light rail station adds a layer of consideration, and preserving this land for the station and allowing for auxiliary coffee shops, small retail, etc. Would seem to be preferred. It's something we hear every time land is converted to a residential apartment complex in Highlands Ranch, and it's I think it's just worth noting, but it's nothing that the developers I don't think can impact. It's not their fault that Highlands Ranch had a view from the beginning of one thing and now it's become a different thing. One question I did have that I forgot to ask. So the land itself is actually owned by the city of Inglewood? Or who owns the land?
That is correct.
So the developers of the apartments would be leasing it from the city of Inglewood?
That's exactly correct. So we have a ground lease to lease the land and the ground improvements that we intend to construct on the site.
Okay, well, that is a new one for me as a commissioner. Then again, I am a new commissioner, so, okay, thank you.
Any further discussion and/or a motion?
Let me find Well, I do actually have pretty serious concerns about the adjacent land, especially those intersections just to the east of it, of Lucent Boulevard, and the added vehicles, and just the general enjoyment of the adjacent land, especially with the Children's Hospital and charter school. And therefore, Mr. Chair, if you would entertain a motion from me, I'd move to deny the Highlands Ranch Plan Development 80th Amendment because it does not meet all the approval criteria with the two conditions presented, chiefly 1520.03.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Yeah, I tend to agree, and I defer to my colleague from, District 3. I think that it's an important consideration and certainly consistent with some of the complaints and issues that we've dealt with over the years. And I think, just for the record, I would point to a number of the approval standards not being met, but certainly 1520.03, whether the amendment would adversely affect the public interest or enjoyment of the adjacent land. And I think it does. It does make me itch a bit anytime we make a major amendment, do a rezone, make significant changes to the zoning that our citizens may have relied on historically when they acquired or purchased land. So I would tend to agree with my colleague and would certainly support the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 3-0. With that, we're going to move on to item 3, which is a resolution supplementing the 2025 adopted budget for the County of Douglas, Colorado, to recognize new revenues received since annual budget adoption, appropriate restricted, committed, assigned, and unassigned fund balances in the amount of $3,552,000 and $552,386. Ryan Bolger, budget analyst, presenting for staff.
Good
Ryan?
afternoon, Commissioners. Ryan Bolger, budget staff. I'm here today to formally present the fourth amendment for the fiscal year 2025. Excuse me. The total amount of the request for your consideration today is $3,552,386. This supplemental request will be increasing appropriations for new revenues that have been received since the formal budget adoption, allowing for unspent grant dollars to be carried forward into the current year, and appropriating spending authority for 2025 initiatives. 79% of expenditures are offset by new revenues. $700,000 of fund balance is being appropriated for capital projects that have been previously approved by the board. There are 9 funds that are affected by this supplemental, which include $1,471,084 for general fund, $313,127 for road and bridge fund, $847,047 for health department, A decrease of $829,600 for transportation infrastructure sales tax fund, $846,148 for Justice Center sales and use fund, $150,000 for River Hest fund, $300,000 for Parks and Open Space sales and use tax fund, $124,580 for waste disposal fund, $330,000 for ARPA fund. We've provided details for all the requests today in the board's packets. In addition, fund summaries for each of these funds that are impacted have been included in the agenda item today. The supplemental request is governed by statute 29-1-109, which permits the BOC to make revise appropriation resolutions to account for increase in expenditures currently under your consideration. The supplemental today, once approved, will bring the amended budget for Douglas County in 2025 to $729,057,613.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for that presentation. Any questions for staff, Commissioner?
Oh, I'm sorry, I just got the last number you mentioned. What was that?
729 million,
Oh, that's the
57.
total. Or what is the 700 million?
That's what the total budget for the county is going to be now. So that'll be the
That's
total.
the adjusted.
I'm sorry, the adjusted budget for the county.
Thank you.
Yes.
Additional questions?
Nah, sounds like we just tripped over a federal fiscal year, so no problem.
You know, quick question. Did you say how much is an unassigned fund balance?
I did not. Kim, do you?
Unassigned in the amended budget.
We won't have
Do you have
that
to-
detail on here because it's going to be by fund.
Uh-huh.
So each fund is going to have its own unassigned balance. So we would have to do the math to add those all up.
I'd be curious to know what that is once you get, how soon would you be able to get that?
Oh, I could do it in a matter of minutes.
Minutes,
back at my
yeah.
desk on
Okay.
funds.
We'll catch up on that then.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, I'm going to open it up to any citizen comment either in person or online with regard to this item.
Commissioner, I have no online comment.
Thank you, Troy. So with that, I'll close citizen comment, bring it back to the board for any further discussion and/or a motion.
And I do have a motion to approve resolution supplementing the 2025 adopted budget for the County of Douglas, Colorado, to recognize new revenue received since annual budget adoption, appropriate restricted, committed, assigned, and unassigned fund balances in the amount of $3,552,386.
I second the motion.
Great. So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries unanimously. Thanks again, Ryan. Thanks again, Kim. So the next land use meeting, public hearing will be held on Tuesday, August 26, 2025, pending some potential scheduling changes that we may have at 2:30 p.m. regardless. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.